Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sons, and fathers, today, I want to speak to the heart of every man listening under the sound of my voice. I want to challenge your instinct, your pride, and your emotions. I want to talk to the lion in you, the king, not the cub. The title of my message is simple but powerful. Let me talk to you today about something that every man, young or old, rich or poor, needs to understand. Reacting is not the same as responding. You see, reaction is what happens when your flesh gets ahead of your faith. Reaction is that instant spark that flies up when your ego feels bruised, when your pride feels pricked, when your name gets pulled through the mud. It's raw, it's loud, it's emotional, and it's dangerous. A man who lives by reaction is like a car with no brakes. You may look powerful, you may sound strong, but you are headed for destruction. The devil doesn't need to take you down. He just needs to provoke you enough that you take yourself down. You can have vision, dreams, and purpose, but if you're always reacting, you'll burn every opportunity before it ever blossoms. A text message triggers you. A co-worker's comment throws off your whole day. Your child makes a mistake, and instead of teaching, you explode. And in those moments, you don't lead. You lose. You lose credibility. You lose control, and worst of all, you lose influence. But response, now, that's a different thing entirely. Response is birthed in patience. It is rooted in discernment. A man who responds has thought through the situation. He's prayed over it. He's waited for peace before moving. He doesn't just say, "I felt like it." He says, "I've considered the cost." And that's what separates boys from men. Boys react, men respond. Boys throw punches, men choose their battles. Boys raise their voice. Men raise their standard. Now don't get it twisted. This isn't about being passive. This isn't about letting people walk over you. No. This is about power, real power, controlled power. The kind of power that makes people lean in when you speak, because you don't speak out of emotion. You speak out of revelation. Your voice carries weight because it doesn't come from impulse, it comes from insight. Think about it. Jesus himself had every reason to react. They lied on him, spit on him, nailed him to a cross. He could have called down fire from heaven. He could have spoken one word and wiped out his enemies. But he didn't react. He responded with silence, with grace, with purpose, because he knew the mission was greater than the moment. And I came to tell somebody today, your mission is greater than your moment. Don't let a moment of reaction destroy a lifetime of calling. If you want to be a real man, if you want to lead your family, guide your children, build a legacy, then you've got to stop living on impulse. Stop letting your emotions dictate your decisions. Start operating with wisdom. Start responding with purpose, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more men who can be calm in the storm, steady in the fire, and wise in the moment. That's not weakness, my brother. That's power. That's what makes you real. Strength isn't in the noise. It's not in the volume of your voice or the size of your fists. Real strength isn't about how many people you can intimidate. It's about how well you can manage yourself when everything around you is out of control. Anybody can blow up. Anybody can lash out. Anybody can lose their temper and blame it on stress or pressure or circumstance. But it takes a ***, real man *** to look chaos in the face and keep his peace. That's power. That's strength. See, we've been taught a lie. We've been told that masculinity is about domination, that being a man means being aggressive, being loud, being forceful. But the truth is that kind of strength is unstable. That kind of strength is rooted in fear and insecurity. A man who always has to prove himself is a man who hasn't found himself. He's still looking for identity in applause, in attention, in intimidation. But a real man, he doesn't need to prove who he is. He knows who he is. And because he knows who he is, he doesn't let the world provoke him out of character. Self-control is the highest form of power. You can have muscles, money, and influence, but if you can't control your temper, your mouth, your emotions, you are a threat to everything you touch. You become dangerous not because of your strength, but because of your lack of discipline. And make no mistake, what you cannot control will eventually control you. That's why men fall. Not because they weren't gifted, not because they weren't smart, but because they didn't master the man in the mirror. You don't win in life by overpowering others. You win by overcoming yourself. Every day you wake up, the biggest battle you face is the battle to keep your peace, the battle to walk away when you're disrespected, the battle to stay calm when you're misunderstood, the battle to trust God when your flesh wants revenge. That's where real strength shows up, not in the moment you explode, but in the moment you choose to be still. The word says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty." In other words, it's better to be calm than to conquer. It's better to have control than to have clout. Because when you have control, you can be trusted. You can be elevated. You can be blessed. God will put more in your hands when He sees that your heart is stable. So don't believe the hype. Don't fall for the trap that says you have to react to everything. That's not strength. That's weakness dressed up in pride. Real strength is the ability to be quiet when you could shout. It's the choice to walk away when you could fight. It's the discipline to stand still when everything in you wants to run wild. That kind of strength, it doesn't just make you a man, it makes you a wise man, a stable man, a man God can use. There's something every man needs to understand deep in his spirit. Every action has a cost. Every word you speak, every decision you make, every emotion you release, it all comes with a price tag. You may not see the cost immediately. It might not show up in your bank account, but it'll show up in your relationships. It might not take your house, but it could take your peace. You might not lose your job today, but you could lose your future tomorrow. And the tragedy is, too many men are bankrupt emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. Not because they didn't have potential, but because they kept paying too much for moments that didn't matter. You blew up over something small. You stormed out of the house because your pride got bruised. You clapped back at your boss because you didn't like the tone. You made a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling, and now you're standing in the ashes of something you could have saved had you just paused long enough to count the cost. It's not that you didn't care. It's not that you didn't want better. It's that your reaction was louder than your reflection. You didn't stop to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is this argument worth losing my peace over? Is this fight worth losing my wife over? Is this moment of anger worth the damage it's about to cause? Because make no mistake, reaction is expensive. One wrong move can cost you your witness. One emotional outburst can cost you your opportunity. One moment of weakness can cost you your destiny, and the enemy knows that. He's not always trying to destroy you with big temptations. Sometimes all he needs is for you to keep swiping the card of emotion, buying your way into chaos, conflict, and regret, until you wake up one day spiritually overdrawn and relationally bankrupt. But when you become a man who counts the cost, you start making different decisions. You don't just say, I feel it. You ask, is it fruitful? You don't just react to the moment. You respond with your future in mind, because you know you're building something. You know you've got people watching you. You know that your children are learning how to handle pressure by watching how you carry yours. So the next time you feel like snapping, pause. The next time you're ready to walk out, wait. The next time you're tempted to respond with anger, pray. Because what you're about to lose might be worth more than what you're trying to prove. Don't trade peace for pride. Don't trade legacy for ego. Don't let a 5-minute moment cost you a 5-year blessing. A wise man doesn't just think about now, he thinks about next. He doesn't just react to life, he stewards it. And when you start living like that, your life won't just be stable, it'll be strong, strategic, and set apart. Let me tell you something that the enemy doesn't want you to realize. He doesn't have to destroy you to defeat you. He just has to distract you. If he can get you to react, he can pull you out of your position. He doesn't have to take your anointing. He just needs you to mishandle it. He doesn't need to steal your destiny. He just wants you to forfeit it by letting your emotions take the wheel. You see, the enemy studies you. He watches what gets under your skin. He knows your triggers. He knows how to push your buttons. He doesn't always come with horns and fire. Sometimes he comes with disrespect, with delay, with a sarcastic comment, with someone who knows just how to get a rise out of you. And when you react, when you let your anger lead, when you let your pride speak, when you step out of your character, you hand him the keys to your influence, because reaction is a trap. It feels good for a moment, but it costs too much in the long run. The enemy wants you to swing, not because you're strong, but because he knows you'll miss. He wants you to speak out of turn so people stop listening. He wants you to lose your cool so you lose your credibility. And when you react, you shift from leading to chasing. You start running after your emotions instead of running after your purpose. But when you don't react, when you stand still, when you respond with wisdom, when you hold your peace, you stay in your seat of authority. You stay on your assignment. You stay grounded in the spirit, not tossed by the storm. You may feel the heat, but you don't lose your head. You may feel the pressure, but you don't bow to it, because a real man doesn't let the enemy decide his mood. A real man doesn't let provocation move him off his post. When the enemy can no longer make you react, he can no longer control the outcome, because now you're moving in clarity. Now you're operating in discernment. Now your steps are ordered, not by emotion, but by purpose. And when your life is led by purpose, hell can't stop you. Temptation can't shake you. Provocation can't move you, because you've matured past reaction. You've stepped into revelation. You have to understand. Your reaction is not just about the moment. It's about the mantle. The weight of what God has placed on your life demands that you be bigger than petty battles. It demands that you be wiser than fleshly responses. You can't afford to let every attack provoke a reaction. Some attacks are just noise. Some offenses are just distractions. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them come, but don't let them make you lose your posture. Because the moment you react, the enemy rejoices. But the moment you respond with wisdom, heaven stands behind you. Stay planted, stay focused. Stay quiet when needed, because silence can be strategy, and peace is power. There is no greater model of restraint, no deeper image of real power than the man who had every right to retaliate but chose to surrender to purpose instead. The man who was beaten, mocked, falsely accused, yet didn't open his mouth. He didn't clap back. He didn't fight for his image. He didn't call down wrath even though he had the authority. Why? Because he knew who he was, and more importantly, he knew why he was here. You see, when you understand your why you stop reacting to the what. When you know your purpose, you stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who were never sent to understand you. You stop throwing pearls before swine. You stop defending what God has already approved. You don't need to prove anything when heaven has already stamped your identity. We live in a world where manhood is often measured by how fast you respond, how loud you talk, how tough you appear. But real men don't respond to everything. Real men don't move just because somebody tried to pull them out of pocket. Real men know when to fight and when to stand still. Real men know that silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom, it's focus, it's power, because the loudest man in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's the quiet one, sitting back, thinking, praying, planning. The one who understands that revenge is a distraction and reaction is a delay. The one who realizes that if the enemy can't destroy your life, he'll try to detour your purpose, and one of his best weapons is provocation. He'll send the disrespect, he'll send the offense, he'll send the criticism. Why? To get a rise out of you, to make you step out of who you really are and start acting from your flesh instead of your faith. Because if you react from your flesh, you'll say something you can't take back. You'll do something that costs you too much. You'll let one moment of anger stain your whole testimony. But a wise man, a man who's led by purpose, understands that power isn't just in what you do. It's in what you don't do. It's in the things you choose not to respond to. It's in the battles you decide not to fight. Because not every war is yours. Some fights are setups. Some arguments are distractions. And some battles are beneath the level you've been called to. When you choose peace over pride, silence over shouting, discipline over drama, you elevate, you rise, and you give God room to fight for you, because vengeance isn't yours, it's His, and when you take your hands off it, heaven puts its hands on it. You don't have to defend your name. Let your fruit speak for you. Let your consistency testify. Let your peace preach louder than your voice ever could. That kind of strength, controlled, rooted, God-led, isn't just manhood. That's leadership. That's legacy. That's what makes you unstoppable.